Hey folks, Fred Gleeck here, and I wanted to show you kind of how I'm putting something together that may be helpful for you if you're going to do it. So, first thing I do is I open up, as I have here, I've got a text editor that I have on my Mac, and I open it up, and I've already sort of started doing this, so I'll show you what I have so far. But basically, my concept here is to have create a series of short tips with short explanations within various categories because my goal here is to create a series of tip sheets based on different categories specifically for information marketers. So if you're an information marketer, I think you'll find this helpful because you can do it regardless of the niche you're in and do the same thing. So first thing I do is open up a text editor, and I immediately take my text editor, and if you haven't done this within a file like this, say for example, I convert everything to plain text. The reason for that is I want to be able to take and copy and paste this into other documents or into something on my ClickFunnels account or whatever. And if it's in plain text, it generally won't have all the extraneous characters and various kinds of things that'll screw things up. So I would highly recommend you start out with a text editor and make sure that you convert everything to plain text like I've done here. I'm making it big enough that you can see it and also that I can work with it myself. So here's my concept. Create a series of short tips with short explanations within a category. So what I did was getting started. So I'm having a few different ideas here that I'm going to be working on. And as I started, I went way down here, and my initial idea was to create an ebook, 99 info marketing tips you must know for 2017 and beyond. Now, I did that because first off, we're in the beginning of 2017, and I want this to be current. But my thought was initially to go ahead and produce something with 99 pieces of it. And then I thought, you know what, that's kind of ridiculous because it's too much for people to consume. It's too much for people to kind of put their hands around. So I started to then say, okay, well, let me list all my tips. I can then break them up into different categories. So far I have tech tips, people side, live events. These are all the various ideas that I've had after I already started putting together this other list. So why is this important to you? Because I don't care what niche you're in, I suggest you do exactly the same thing. So open up a text editor and have it constantly open on your desk or at least available so that you can start to jot ideas down as they come out. And what will happen is I'm going to end up with, my goal is to end up with, and let me just put that here so that I can type while I'm doing it, which is my goal here is to create a series of PDFs that are super useful to my target market. And in that case, it's you, the info marketers. So the first question is, there are people who are info marketers, been doing it for years. There are other people who just started. So I want to make sure that all of these different things that I create. So for example, I'm skipping around here, but my first one will be getting started. This will be for people, and I say this is geared to somebody who's just starting out. If you've been doing this for a while, this info will probably be way too basic for you. Feel free to check it out, but understand it's not geared to people like you. It's geared to newbies. Nothing wrong with that, but share it with somebody who is. So I put that and saying to myself, okay, well, all the basic ideas that I come up with that are listed elsewhere on this document, I'm going to start to put those together and put a getting started category. So let's say, for example, you were in, let me give you one of my clients. If you were in the opera niche, I got a client, Keith Harris, who does work showing people how to get into and succeed as opera singers. So he would then divide that into things like, performance, getting started if you're just in high school, how to make some extra money on the side to be able to continue to do your opera business. So he would create, and I've created things like tech tips, the people side, live events. These are all the characters. And by the way, I just started this about 10 minutes ago, and I got this wild idea that I should be recording all of this and giving it to you in this form. So that's what I'm doing here, is just showing you my process as I'm doing it. So if I was Keith Harris, what I would be doing is I would open up, and again, I don't care what niche you're in, you should be doing the same thing. So let me just make this, it's kind of a blank sheet here. And if we were starting, I would just start brainstorming ideas. So idea number one, idea number two, etc. And I would just create as many ideas as I can. Later on, I would then go back and look at these ideas and see if I could bundle them into different categories, as I've done up here, which is to bundle them into the categories. These are just some of the categories I've started with, which is the getting started category, the tech tips category, the people side, the live events, and I haven't even really gone any further than that. I could look at these and decide, let me see, are there some other things I want to include? Are there other categories? But my first thing is to get my mind and to get your mind thinking about just jotting down and brainstorming as many possible individual ideas. Make sure and to granulate these ideas as much as possible, meaning to say, just go ahead and break them down into the smallest essential elements. So when I say here, for example, membership sites, I'm not granulating my idea. I should be breaking it down into the components of membership sites. In fact, membership sites may become a separate category and probably will now that I'm thinking about it. So membership sites, because I have a ton of those that I do and work with clients. Live events is obviously its own category. So here's my goal. My goal is to create a series of PDFs that have as few as say 9, maybe as many as 25 elements. And these are basically quick consumable ideas that everybody can use. So in your niche, you should be doing the same thing, which is to create and just brainstorm, open up a text editor file, write down as many things, and then after that, put them into the categories. And then after that's done, you will now have, and it's sort of like a Harry Potter thing. That's where I kind of thought about this as, or Star Wars or whatever you're into, anything that has multiple sequels, so that I can then start to deliver to people via social media and on my website various different PDFs with different names. One will be Getting Started, and it'll be, depending on how many items I have under there, it'll be the 13 essential elements anybody getting started in information marketing in 2017 will want to know. It's the 27 tech tips that every information marketer will want to know for 2017. So I'm going to be creating a lot of these different tips, putting them into categories, and then releasing them. Now, when I release them, I'm probably going to make them a little bit prettier. You can have people on Fiverr, which is another thing I should probably mention here. I should write that down, how to use Fiverr, because Fiverr is a great site to have people do stuff fairly cheap, and they do generally a pretty good job if they've got good reviews. So my idea here is I will end up with a bunch of different tip sheets or PDFs. They probably won't look very good when I first get started because they'll all be stuff just like this if you're looking at it, okay? But long term, I'm going to take those, I'm going to put them into different, almost like an infographic looking thing. I don't want to make them very long, maximum of 2, maybe 3 pages. So I want to keep them short. I want to categorize them by topic and then do that. So if you're working on anything in the information marketing field, you should be doing exactly what I'm doing here and then creating something for your clients. Hope that's helpful. I look forward to talking to you again real soon. Fred Gleeck here. Talk to you soon.